Welcome, everyone, to the RPG Goblin, a TTRPG exploration podcast. I am your host, Willow, and I am the resident goblin and the one who asks all the questions because I'm obsessed with these games. And the whole reason I started the podcast is because my mom was done with me talking about TTRPGs all the time. So you guys get to hear it now. In this episode, we are going to be talking about a really, really cool journaling game TTRPG called Dead Letter Society, which I'm very, very excited about. And I just want to put at the beginning here, the art on the cover of this book is so freaking cool. And even if this game doesn't sound interesting to you or it's not up your alley or anything like that, just check out the actual book just to see the art because it's absolutely freaking gorgeous. But you probably will like this game though because it's really cool. But to talk about it today, we have on the creator, Rori Montford. Rory, would you like to introduce yourself to everyone and tell them what
Oh,
you do
hi
and where they can
everyone.
find you? You'll do great.
Hi, I'm Rory. I and say a lot of ums. It will have to be edited out later,
You're all
unfortunately.
good.
This is a feature of me. I I'm an illustrator and I design role-playing games, ideally for low player counts, 1, 2 players, that you can pick up and put down because I don't have a lot of time to play it, and I know I'm not the
Yeah.
only person with that problem.
Exactly that though. Like it is busy to be an adult. Like there are so many
Mhm.
things that you have to do. Sometimes you can't dedicate 4 hours to a session every week. Sometimes you
Nope.
just need something that you can pick up and play. And so where can people find you to check out Dead Letter Society and some of your other games just so that
Oh.
all the
Well, I
places.
have Dead Society at the moment. I have the
Mhm.
Almanac of Sanguine Paths, which is coming very soon. Uh,
I'm so
but
excited about that.
thank you. Montfordtales.com is the easiest way to get hold of me and what
Mhm.
I'm working on. I am Montford Tales everywhere on social media. I don't think I've missed one. If I have, someone should tell me because this is the age of diversifying social media.
Oh, so true.
Yeah.
On so many. It's like, oh man, how
Mhm.
can I keep track of like 4 or 5 different ones at the same time?
It's impossible.
It really
Yeah.
is.
You just have to forgive yourself that. It's impossible.
Mhm.
Do your best.
Yeah, focus on whichever one makes you the most happy, which
Yeah.
isn't Twitter usually.
Yeah.
Fantastic beginning of the episode. Good lord.
Yeah.
I love
Part of
it.
part of doing this is managing social media and its effect on you, and
Yeah,
actually that's kind of an important point to do.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's its own rodeo, honestly.
Mhm.
Like it really is. The podcast itself is a whole job. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And like
Mhm.
the editing and the recording, like yeah, that takes a lot of time, but I swear it's managing the social media and it's keeping up with everything and making sure to keep
Yep.
active, which is fun and great and I love it. Exhausting at times.
Yep. And it
That's
could be time you could be spending doing the other things that you really love as well.
exactly. And so
Is that
there's a balance there that needs to be
Yeah.
done. It's
It is a really
terrible.
hard balance to find, and I
Mhm.
don't think I have that balance yet.
Yeah, same. So here's an interview with two people who don't have a balance of social media
Yeah.
and work life and normal
2
life.
totally normal people, because everyone's like that.
So true though.
Yeah.
There's just so much going on. Like again, being an
Mm.
adult is really hard. But yes, in this episode though, we are going to be talking about your game Dead Letter Society. And
Mhm.
before we get straight into it, I want to ask: is Dead Letter Society your first game that you have written?
It is my first standalone game.
Hmm.
I've done a few bits and pieces for some third-party D&D things,
Hmm.
so but it's my first thing, like,
Yeah.
thing with a capital TH.
It's the first thing that's your own. Like
It
that
is
that
all
is
my own, it is
I
my
love it.
own, like, way of playing the
Mhm.
game, and it's all my own art, it's all my own layout, and all my own
I love
words, and
it.
it was a big thing to finish as well,
Yeah.
which was quite nice. It's a thing that was finished because I have other ideas that I'm
Mhm.
just sort of slowly working on.
Mhm.
Well, this one's done.
No, I love that though. And like
Yeah.
that's the thing as well, like to actually like complete a project, like there is a difference
Mhm.
between having it on in the background. I was working on the podcast for a while before I even like actually like published it. So like once
Mhm.
it was published, it was like, oh wait, this is actually like a complete like it's not a complete thing because obviously there's episodes coming out, but it's like an actual thing that
It's a
exists
thing.
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I could totally understand that same
It's an
way.
important feeling to
Yeah.
have actually made that step to have a thing that is there that other
Mhm.
people can interact with independent of you as
And
well.
like
Yeah.
love and care about
Yeah.
and like and read and play, like I
Mhm.
think that's one of the coolest things. I haven't designed any games, but as a game designer, I would imagine like the best part is people playing the game because it's like, oh, I did
Yeah.
that. I
So I
love
I
it.
was at Comic-Con, like,
Mhm.
at the end of October, and a couple of people just came up and said, "I really enjoyed playing this," and I'm just like,
Oh.
"That means so much." I mean, I would have been totally happy if it was just me who played it because
Mhm.
I enjoyed making it, except for the hard bits, and I enjoyed playing it, and
Mhm.
otherwise I wouldn't have made it the way I did if I didn't enjoy playing it how it is, but it's just nice to know that, you're not alone in your likes
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, and that other people want to, yeah, interact with it. I think
Yeah.
that's so cool, and
They'll play
so
it differently from me, of course, but that's fine.
yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing about TTRPGs too, is like people all have their different ways of playing and
Mhm.
interpreting the games and stuff like that. And also, if people are listening and you end up playing Dead Letter Society or you have already, please go tell Rory that you have and that you enjoyed the game because lift people up, like make her day, please. Like
Oh,
that would be
man.
amazing.
No pressure, guys.
No, well, no, a little bit of pressure maybe. Like if you enjoy it, no, because I think that's the best part is like especially smaller creators too.
Mhm.
Like every single review that I get, I always get so excited. Like any kind of feedback always gets you so excited because that
Mhm.
is something that is very personal. So I love it, and there may be a little bit of pressure to be nice. I love it, and so maybe to actually start getting into the actual game, I would like
Yeah.
to start with for people who are listening who don't know what Dead Letter Society is and so forth, how would you explain what it is to
You want
everyone?
my
Just so,
elevator pitch?
yes, the elevator pitch. Yes.
Yeah. So, when someone who doesn't know what Dead Letter Society is comes across me, I go, "Hey, vampires writing letters via a secret society?" And then people either go, "Ooh," or they go, "Nah, I like werewolves," and then they walk on.
There are two people in this life, people
Yeah.
who like vampires and people who like
Yeah.
werewolves.
There was a few who were like, "No, I like goos, great old ones." I went, "Yeah, I haven't finished that one yet."
Okay, but actually that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so vampires writing letters to
Letters
each
to
other
each
in
other
the
via a secret society. I mean, that
yeah.
is that is the game.
Mhm.
You use tarot cards, you can be 1 player, you can be 2 players, but you're vampires, and you write letters to each other via a secret society, and obviously they're shady because they're secret.
Of course, which was something that I really liked when I was going over the not the like the preview of the
Mm,
game. I enjoyed seeing like the different examples of like what kind of letters that you could be writing and stuff like that, and that it's not
mhm.
tied into like, oh, these are specifically like letters of love or letters of like writing to your best friend or anything like that. Like
Yeah.
it could be anything. And so I am really curious of what initially gave you the idea to make Dead Letter Society.
I mean, in September or October last year, what was I doing? I was working on ideas for a game about great old ones and ocean
Oh,
horror, right?
I love it.
And, um, I was just, like, tootling away at that, and then I went in my brain, and I went, "Vampire pen pals?"
Vampire pen
And
pals? Wait,
that was literally it, and then, like, 30 seconds later, I'm, like, on Twitch, I'm going, "Vampire pen pals?"
and everyone
And
else was like vampire pen pals?
vampire pen pals. So, then I put aside my other thing that wasn't quite working out yet, and like, "Okay, how am I gonna do this?" And I spent a few months just sort of, like, trying different ways of
Mhm.
interacting with, because I knew I wanted to use tarot cards
Yeah.
because they've they tell you a lot of inspiration just by looking at the cards, right? It
Mhm.
helps a lot
Yeah.
of storytelling just because you can see the picture.
Mhm.
And so I knew I wanted to use tarot cards. I didn't know quite how I wanted to use tarot cards, so I spent about a month or 2 making it stupidly complicated for no good reason,
Mhm.
and then I thought, "Hang on, no, that's not what I want to do," and then I changed it to how I did it in Dead Letter Society,
Yeah, no,
which
that's
is
so
much
fair.
simpler, much more intuitive, and I think much more freeing from a narrative point of view.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it has to get complicated before it gets easy, like
Yeah, you've gotta know at what point you were like, "No, this is not working, and I'm just adding more stuff to it."
Yeah.
No. Just no.
I'm curious
Just
of
kill that idea, just kill it dead and start again.
do you have an example of one of these earlier, more complicated versions of the system?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it was originally I was gonna make it predominantly two-player, so I
Mhm.
didn't have a solo version worked
Mhm.
out at all then, and I had something essentially dividing up into different piles, and depending
Mhm.
on which cards go into different piles, and you get to
Uh
keep some back for yourself to trigger things later with. I'm like, "Am I making a board game or an RPG?" So I think I accidentally made a board game.
Hey, I mean, if you ever go into the board game world, it's right there.
It just it there was something a little bit more meaty there to
Mhm.
it, but also it wasn't saying vampire pen pals to me
Yeah.
anymore.
Absolutely. No, I think that's
Yeah.
fair though. Like it wasn't filling that
Yeah, it wasn't
idea.
the right game to
Mhm.
go with the idea.
Yeah.
Those
And I think
mechanic bits I was thinking about then, they'll just, like, go into something else at some point in the future. It's not a
exactly.
wasted amount of time, it's just not for right now.
Yeah, and I love that even
And
just the care into, like, what fits the game too,
yeah.
like, not making it over like, just because you thought and that's, like, this is a term that I learned actually on the podcast of, like, killing your darlings, like,
Yeah.
not being so in love and, like, this mechanic has to be in the game, like, it has to be this way, being
Mhm.
able to kill it off because it's like, "Hey, this actually isn't good for the game that I want to
Yeah.
make and other people to play, or for even me to play," like,
Mhm.
your own how would it be for you to play, like blah, hold on, let me circle back. For you, when you were designing this more complicated, tarot system, I'm curious, like, did you feel like even for yourself to play this game, like, was it feeling kind of unapproachable?
No, because at that point, I'd only written bits of it down, and I
Mhm,
was just kind of doing, like just sort of playing little bits here and there and trying to suss out whether I liked how that felt to play it that way or not.
mhm,
But it was getting too complicated, and at that point, it's like, "Okay, I can make a different game using this mechanic,
mhm.
or I can make the game I wanted and just kill this thing."
Yeah,
So,
just
which darling did I want to kill? And I killed the thing that yeah, that I killed the thing I think I should have killed.
yeah, no, I
Well,
agree,
not
'cause
killed, I put it in stasis, I iced it.
yeah. You put it in the freezer for later. It's
Yeah,
like, "Alright, we'll get to that at a different
we'll
day."
get to that.
No,
It might
I think
actually be useful coming to think of it live on
ooh,
air, it might actually be quite useful to go back to for the next thing that I'm sort of working at
well,
in
now
the
I'm
background.
curious.
So I will come back to that idea,
Ooh, no, this
and
is
in
exciting.
6 or 8 months, you can say, "Was that idea?" And I'll go, "Yes,
Maybe.
maybe." Or I'll say, "Nah, it wasn't good fit for that either."
Yeah. We will see in
We'll
about
see.
7 to 8 months.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, no, I think that's, fantastic, and so I think, talking all this about, like, the tarot system and stuff, I think
Mm,
it's only right to actually talk about the actual tarot system that
yeah,
went into Dead Letter Society.
yeah.
How does that work?
It works kind of like you're reading the fortune for your vampire.
Mhm. Oh, I like it.
Yeah. So there's 3 phases to playing Dead Letter Society.
Mhm,
There's the writing the letters because you are
mhm.
vampires who write letters to each other via a secret society.
Of course.
There's the society phase, which is where
Mhm.
the society part comes into it. And there you draw a major arcana card and the society's up to something. So I like to phrase it
Oh.
as you write letters, then something happens to you, the society happens
Mhm.
to you. And then in the chronicle phase, the last one, you act on the world.
I like that a
So I
lot,
like it's like
actually.
you take and you give back.
Mhm.
And in the Chronicle phase, that's where most of the storytelling
Mhm.
tarot kind of way thing happens. So you say what you would like to do, you
Mhm.
draw a card, and then you figure out together from those prompts what actually happens.
Cool. No, I like that. Actually, why don't we go kind of from the beginning here of like the
Mm,
different phases, kind of go through
yeah.
each phase and the process of like playing
Sure.
through it. Yeah, let's do
Sure.
it. I love it. So the first phase is well, I guess the question is like, is there any kind of setup that is required for the game, getting it ready to
Yes.
actually play?
Yes. There's the quick setup, which
Mhm.
is pick one of 6 settings that I've done all the legwork for you on the back for. Or you can actually sit down and essentially have a session 0 together and set
Mhm.
expectations about what kind of game you're trying to play.
Perfect.
Because if you're writing letters and you're not talking in between writing those letters very much,
Mhm.
and one person wants to play a game about redemption and another one wants to go on a bloodthirsty rampage, you're not playing the right game together.
Yeah.
So
It's gonna be interesting.
it would be a stressful disappointment.
Yeah. Stressful disappointment.
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, what you do in your own, like, journaling parts of the game, I mean, you
Mhm.
don't have to share all of it, so in
Yeah.
theoretically, you could kind of muddle along, but it wouldn't
Mhm.
be very good if, like, one person's writing to you about how many people they killed last night, and the other one's like, "Well, I kind of I kind of like this human, and I don't want to eat them." Right?
Yeah, I mean, like
That doesn't work.
no, it's definitely not the same vibe. It's all
Not the
about,
same
fitting
vibe.
fitting the vibes. Everyone wants to
Yeah.
be in the same
So the
area.
the setup for this is pretty much it's a vibe check.
Mhm.
Make
Vibe
sure
check.
you want It's a vibe check. Make sure you want the same things out of a
Mhm.
game. Talk about the kind of expectations you have going into it.
Mhm.
And if you want to make a world together, so what are vampires like in your world? What's
Yeah.
humanity like? What kind of society are you operating
Mhm.
in? And you
I
do
love
that
it.
by choosing different keywords, and you
Mhm.
choose a lot of keywords, and then you figure out together what those keywords mean. So,
I like
yeah.
that. Actually, that's something I the more I've been like getting into more TTRPGs and stuff, one of my favorite things is using keywords for like
I
building a
like keywords.
world or like a
Yeah,
location or like even NPCs, like
yeah.
stuff like that because they're like so helpful and like they don't put too
Mhm.
much in stone that like if you
No.
deviate from it at all it's like okay how do you interpret shady or how do you
Mm,
interpret dark stuff
yeah,
like that like
and
I think that's fantastic.
it doesn't have to be the obvious way either.
Mhm.
You can totally invert the expectations if you want to, and
Absolutely.
I like the keyword way of doing stuff
Mhm.
because
No,
you can
I
go it can be all very tropey, but then with a few extra little, tweak to some things.
Yeah,
Little
little twist
twist.
on whatever feels right when you
Mm,
approach it. It like lays down some groundwork that then you can explore and like actually like expand upon when you play
mhm.
the game and when you actually get into it of like okay here's what dark means in this world and so
Yeah.
actually I love that a lot and I do want to say I love as well the fact that you have pre-written like worlds and like characters
It
for people to like
It
start
can
with.
take time,
Yeah,
right? If you go
it
if you go,
does.
because I do it and I have fun with it,
Mhm.
and me and my partner be sitting there, I'm like, "What do we think of this and that?" And we're like, "Okay, well, it's 2 hours have passed," and we're like, "Okay, we might have some characters soon, I guess," but
Yeah.
we've just been talking, right? And it's been great to just sit and talk, and that's fine,
I
but
mean, it's date night.
sometimes
It's
you don't have that time to sit and talk, so it's like, "Okay, we're
Mhm.
just gonna jump right in with there with
Yeah.
this list of things that vampires can do
Mhm.
and a idea of what kind of world you're operating in, and then go from there.
Yeah, I love it, and it makes it easier as well for, like, someone to approach the game too that's
Yeah,
new,
you have an
like
idea of how my mind works
yeah.
anyway with what's going on in there.
Mhm. Yeah, it's I love that so much. You get, like, a little bit of the perspective from the actual designer, you get and
Mhm.
then also, again, it being easy. Like, okay, I can pick the like I want to try this game out. I don't know if I want to make the commitment to do the whole setup myself. I can try
Yeah.
out with just some pre-written things. If I like it and want it to do something more, you have full freedom to do something more, or you
Yeah.
can stick with the pre-written. Like it
Yeah.
there's so many ways that you can approach it, and I love that so much. It's so cool. Very cool game. I'm very excited. I love it. Um, so I'm actually curious before we get into like kind of the writing phase. Is there a pre-generated characters or world that really sticks out in your mind of I'm super proud of that one, or like I'm really excited about that one. That one makes me really
Um,
happy.
there's two that I particularly like.
Mhm.
And yet, to my shame, I've not played with them very much because I
No.
have this perfect picture of them in my head of how I'd
Mhm.
want a game with them to go, which is why I
Yeah.
wrote them. And I've got all these pictures going on in my head of how they might fall out.
Mhm.
And my fear is if I play them and it doesn't go that way.
Oh
So, because my playthroughs tend to go downhill dramatically.
no.
Because I just go for it. I'm just like
Just dive headfirst into it.
dive headfirst into danger, at least in my solo games. Not so
Mhm.
much in group games, but in solo games, I'm much more dive headfirst into danger.
Yeah, cause immediate chaos.
Yeah. But the two that I particularly like, one of them is generation ships. So far flung future, humanity's off into the stars on
Mhm.
these massive multi-generation ships, and you
Yeah.
are supposedly the one vampire stuck on board.
Ooh,
And
fun.
you need to eat,
Mhm.
but whenever you eat, you make more vampires unless you kill them. So it's a bit of an
Ooh.
alien kind of version, like
Yeah.
the xenomorph style alien of you're
Mhm.
there, you need to eat. You're agile and fit in all the ventilation shafts.
And you can make more of you,
You
which
can
is
make more of you, but then you've got a limited food supply.
this is
And things are probably
true.
going to go wrong with this ship because you know that like a shady corporation's really behind making this, right? Because this is a
Oh, for sure.
dystopian future.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that one, I'm not actually afraid of playing that one out because
Mhm.
that suits my. I'm just gonna go for it,
Yeah.
man. This ship's gonna
Let's
crash and burn somewhere, and there'll be like one last lonely transmission out into space of saying, "Oh no, I messed up."
that would be so good though. That would be
Uh-huh.
such a fun like I could imagine doing like kind of a solo actual play type thing where you're doing like audio and like
Yeah,
the last one like just having that little blip at the end
just
like,
like,
"Oh no, I
"Oh
messed
bleep."
up." Oh, that would be so good.
Yeah.
That's
The other
amazing.
one I really like is down entirely to me reading far too much Agatha Christie. So it's the Tea Time Detectives Club where
Oh,
you
that's so
are
cool.
it's a cozy setting where
Uh-huh.
you are vampires investigating murders and things and yeah.
Yes. I love it. It's like Brindlewood
Yeah,
Bay, but vampires.
with vampires. Yeah.
No, that's so cute.
So I like that one too. I want to play that one with someone, I
Mhm.
think.
Yeah, I think that would be really
Yeah.
fun, like, because then you get to, like, work together and stuff
Yeah.
versus, like again, like, solo play, super fun, very exciting, but sometimes there are ideas that work better with
Yeah.
people
I
than
want
just solo.
the reason I want to play that one particular as two-player is so that we can work together to have two separate murder cases that come together into one
Ooh,
linked thing that we then solve together. That's the ideal thing that's going off in my
that's
head.
actually really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I wanna play that.
Hey, we can play that one together. There you
Yeah!
go.
Let's start a Dead Letter Society game right now on the podcast. No, actually
No,
no,
it's a
but
terrible
that's
idea. It will go wrong.
it'll go wrong, but probably
It's
in a great
gloriously
way.
wrong.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course. Just like any
gloriously wrong.
TTRPG game.
But I don't even have tarot cards to hand.
No.
And if I open Discord for the bot, it's gonna go beep
No, in the future, no,
in the
seriously.
future.
No, that would actually be really fun because, like, again, I haven't played. I've really wanted to play some two-player games with
Mhm.
my partner and stuff, and we've never gotten around to it. Life is busy, stuff like
Yeah.
that. But they sound like a lot of fun, especially like that is
Mhm.
really, that's getting kind of to, some really personal storytelling there too. Like it's not a big group of people in one GM or
Yeah.
anything like that. It is both of you working together,
Mhm.
creating this world, creating this game, having your own
And
characters and their perspectives. I love it.
in a way, it's also one reason why I made this game the way it is,
Mhm.
because we have tried to play some two-player games together in the past,
Mhm.
like things like Cthulhu Confidential.
Mhm.
It's dripping with all sorts of theme and vibe, and it's just great. But getting the two of us playing together, it just felt so intense. It's
Mhm.
like, I need group banter. Where's my group banter?
I'm terrified right now.
Yeah, it was just a little bit intense,
Mhm.
and this the way that this game works and be able to just take your time and
Mhm.
just sit back, and so we play together at the same table
Yeah.
and chat as we play.
I love
And that
that.
works great because
Mhm.
there's no pressure on you in the
Mhm.
moment to, like, perform or figure out the clues or
Yeah.
yeah. So I
Not
needed to make
get
it that
killed
way
by
to make sure I
Cthulhu.
could play a two-player game. Because otherwise things were just it was yeah. We need a slightly less intense two-player games in this house.
No, I love that though, because I think they're like that's a real thing though. It's like there are definitely different markets for what different
Mhm.
people want to explore in these games. That's why there's like I think solo games are a great example. There are solo games that like get
Mhm.
super dark because those are themes that people want to like kind of experience
Yeah.
themselves. But then sometimes people just want to play a cozy game where they don't have to
Yep.
worry about anything and they
Yep.
don't want a brain cell in their head. Like
Mhm.
let
There
me
should
have
be a
fun.
game for everyone at some point in time.
Exactly, and there probably is, like, just look
Yeah.
on itch and you'll find something that connects to you, or
Mhm.
Kickstarter, which is dangerously addictive. Um,
Yeah.
it's
No comment.
I love it so much. No. Which, did you actually release Dead Letter Society through Kickstarter? I
Um,
wasn't, on Twitter and following you around that time, so
yeah.
I'm unaware of how that
So
went
I did
down.
release it during Zine Month,
Mhm.
and I did it on Crowdfunder,
Oh,
which
fun,
is a
fun.
different platform. It was my first ever crowdfunding campaign. I'm like,
How'd it go?
"I know what I'm doing. I'll try this one." Everyone seems to be doing it. It's probably fine. And it was fine.
Mhm.
It was totally fine.
Yeah.
And it funded. I made the game. It was great.
And now we have an awesome game that you can go
Yeah,
buy at
yeah. And then I did Kickstarter for Almanac because I wanted to see what the different platforms were
Mhm.
like. And
Do you have a preference?
um, I feel like I'm probably gonna try a different one again next to
Mhm.
see, not because anything's wrong with either the other 2, but just so that I get that full
Yeah.
picture before things get serious.
No, that's so fair. Backer kit, here I come.
Yeah, I think Backer
No.
Kit is the next thing I'm probably gonna look at and just see how that goes and just
Yeah.
suss out where my games fit best.
No, I like
Yeah,
that experimentation. See
yeah,
what works because I mean, again, I saw that the Almac and Senguine paths did fantastic,
it did
and so
great.
like
I'm so happy with how well that went.
I that was amazing to watch like
Yeah,
from the side. Like, oh my god, it's doing amazing! Like, good
I'm just
job.
like, "Guys!"
I'm so
And then I get all
excited.
squeaky.
So if you maybe that's another episode we need to do. If you don't like vampires, there are werewolves in a
Around
different game.
werewolves. 'Cause when I made Dead Letter Society, I really wanted to put werewolves in there. I
Mhm.
wanted to make it not just vampires, I wanted to
Mhm.
try and, like, craft it somehow so you could be any kind of supernatural creature,
Mhm.
but that was just a step in looseness too far.
Yeah, that's and
It
that's I like that though because that
mm,
is fair because it is easy to add more things to a
yeah,
game, but then you kind of lose that base inspiration idea of
yeah.
vampire pen pals.
Vampire pen pals was the idea,
Yeah.
and then I started thinking of ways that you could make it werewolves, and yeah, you can play Dead Letter Society as a werewolf. You just
Mhm.
have to ignore all the things about hunger as being about drinking people's blood, but about transforming in moonlight or
Yeah.
something. That's a lot of extra work that's been put on the person playing it,
Mhm.
which isn't really fair. And werewolves deserve their own book, which is
Yeah.
why I'm doing that.
Yeah,
And
and
so I just had to sit back and say, "Nope, it's fine. If someone wants to play this as a werewolf,
Mhm.
they can fudge it so it will work."
Yeah. I mean, people are gonna
But
do it naturally, like,
I
it
don't wanna
happens.
yeah, if it happens, it happens, but I don't want to force it.
Mhm.
I don't want to make it so dilute that you are even having to fudge it to play a vampire. That's
Yeah.
that's not right.
Yeah.
So, it's
That's why there are 2
vampires through and
books.
through, but it's your definition of vampires. And Dracula turned into a wolf, right? So I
Yeah,
walked in
you
daylight.
you could be a werewolf, vampire, like, you could be whatever you want, like, that
The
is up.
gothic vampire setting in Dead Letter Society has you being able to transform into animals
Yeah.
because it's the very
Mhm.
Dracula-centric style of game that I was going for with that one.
I love it.
But
I think that's so fun.
that's a vampire. He's not a werewolf.
That's a vampire. Yeah, don't get it confused. I know
Yeah,
I know it may
he's a
look like a
vampire.
wolf, but don't
Yeah,
worry about it. No, I love it. And so actually, got a little sidetracked of
that's
like
fine.
actually talking about the different phases of the game.
Mm,
And so, with the world setting up, either creating your own with your own characters
yep.
or taking from the
You
book,
make
then
characters, you exchange character sheets and
mhm.
decide some task or cost that the society wants from
Ooh,
you.
that's
So you
fun.
have some sort of buy-in already there,
Mhm.
and you also swear oaths that you have to break by the end of the game.
Ooh,
That's
do you
the other
have any
thing.
examples of ones that you've done to share with people?
Ooh, my
Because that's
example
really cool.
oaths. Um, yeah, I have example oaths if you give me 2 seconds to bring up some of my playthroughs.
Absolutely.
Let me see, the most obvious one is going to be for my playthrough as poor Edwina. She ran a radio station. It didn't go well.
I love
She's
it.
not around anymore, let's put it that
Oh,
way. That's
no.
how badly it went.
RIP.
What was my oath there? Oh, my oath there was I will never fall in love again.
Oh.
Yeah, that got broken pretty early on. But then they died, so, what's
Oh,
more heartbreak
no.
from one vampire to another?
This is devastating.
It's so yeah. I recorded all of that for the crowdfunder campaign.
Mhm.
That entire playthrough, I recorded it, and that's when I learned just how much a pain subtitles were. But I did it. But, oh man, that was some editing.
Oh, man, I bet. No, that's so cool. Oh my gosh. No, that's really fun, and the fact of, like, that it can break early too. Like, it
Mhm.
isn't something that you have to wait the entire game
No, no,
to
no, you
get
break it when
to.
it's right to break it.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. And like and as well, like knowing that's gonna be something that is gonna be difficult for your character, like, okay, and that's also setting that's a part of setting the themes when you
Yeah.
start the game. Like, okay, I'll never fall in love again. Like that sets the scene for kind of what kind of things are gonna be happening within the
Yep.
game. I love
And the
it.
kind of heartbreak you've already been through, which clearly has to feature as well.
Yeah. Heartbreak, the game.
Yeah, heartbreak the game.
I love it. And so there's the oaths, and then there's the
The
uh
application fee is what
yes,
I called it.
the application
Yeah.
fees.
Yes. In this particular playthrough, the society knows about Nick. You can guess that Nick is probably the human I then inevitably fell in love with.
Oh, of course.
And they hold his life in their hands. Nick
Oh,
knows about
no.
vampires, so they'll kill him if he gets found out.
No!
I mean, that's what I mean when I said earlier, I just go for it. I'm
Yeah,
just like,
no.
I embrace the tragedy in my solo games. This I embrace the tragedy in my solo game.
No,
So,
absolutely. No, I think that's a really again, it all comes down to the themes of what you wanna do. If you love the
yeah.
tragedy, embrace it early, like
Yep.
that, like engage with those themes immediately.
Mhm.
I mean, it's kind of funny because I in my first D&D campaign that I ever ran, I had like a whole idea for like this villain and story that I wanted to do, but I didn't like come into the game with like introducing that yet. And so what ended up happening is that the game kind of diverged into other themes, and so I had to like
Mhm.
scrap that whole thing that I brought in. But if you just like automatically go in the game. These are the themes we want to play around with. These are this is the type of story we want to do. It
Mhm.
helps get everyone on the same page about
Yeah.
it. I love it. That's so good. And so, how many times I'm curious because you keep mentioning like the playthroughs. Have you
Yeah.
played Dead Letter Society mostly solo? Have you played it quite a few times two player?
I've played it a few times to play with my partner.
Hmm.
I played a lot solo. Almanac, I've played a couple of times with my partner and
Hmm.
a lot solo. Because solo is just easier to schedule,
Yeah.
and he's a busy guy.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It is a busy again, adulting is busy. And so
Yeah,
if you have the time for the solo game, might as well do it. And
yeah,
I guess actually I am curious. You said that you originally weren't intending for this to be a two-player and a solo game, right?
yeah. That
So
changed
what
when I thought, "How am I gonna play test this?
Make it
I need some
solo for
solo
your own
variants."
convenience. That's
It
so
is
good.
literally the very truth of what happened there as well. I'm, like, ditching all these old rules. I'm like, "You know what? I'm gonna have to play test this."
Mhm.
I'm kind of playing 2 characters during this complicated thing, and it's kind of working,
Mhm.
but the flow isn't really there when you're trying to play 2 characters with this
Yeah.
complicated thing that I concocted at the time, which is another reason why I was essentially ditched it as well. I'm like, this it's if you're playing this one person trying to play 2 characters with this system,
Mhm.
your desk is covered in cards,
Yeah.
and
I
this
can't see
doesn't
the
work.
notebook.
This doesn't work,
There's only so much space that, can be
and
dedicated to cards. It's
yeah, and the way that I've written it there, yes, I was playtesting it as one person with a lot of cards in front of me, but I didn't have a good way of making it work without a lot of cards in front of me.
Mhm. No, that makes a
And
lot of sense.
yeah, the way Dead Letter Society ended up, one of the solo variants is yes, you just play it as if you're 2 people,
Mhm.
right? And I have played it that way,
Yeah.
and it's just a lot more writing. Right? That's like writing your own like epistolary novel,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, it
It
works, but
works.
there is a lot
It's
there.
still fun, but it's a lot to take on,
Mhm.
and not everyone wants to be able to take that on.
Yeah, for sure. Because that was
So,
actually gonna be a question that I asked of
yeah.
if it was good if the solo version of the game was playing as 2 people or if it was just, taking on the one character.
Yeah, so you can play it as 2
Mhm.
people. You can play it where you approximate the second person's letter by drawing a major arcana card, look at the society
Oh,
event prompt, and then just make up the gist of it.
yeah.
Or the way that I more recently quite like playing it was the third variant with they never reply. So you write,
Oh,
but you don't
that's
get a
so
response.
sad.
So that's how I actually like to play it because then I can get angry because they're not writing back, or suspicious because why
Yeah.
aren't they writing back?
Oh,
And
no, that's
then
really good.
my radio operator vampire is born where she's sending messages into, off on the radio
Mhm.
waves, but she's not getting anything back from it. So then she has to go and investigate to figure out why.
Ooh.
And then
Yeah.
she goes a few rooms too far, asks a few too many wrong sort of questions, and then is no more.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
No, that kinda reminds me of, like, Firewatch a little bit where you're, like, communicating over the radios and stuff,
yeah.
though, but then, like, that's, like, kind of the whole thing is, like, "What's going on?" And then
What's
all of
going on?
that.
I like that question of what's going on.
Mhm. Yeah.
So at the moment, that's particularly attractive to me.
Mhm.
At other points in time, just having a little bit more feedback from what else could be going on in the world elsewhere is nice. Like the
Mhm.
drawing the card and just sort of summarizing it to
Yeah.
yourself.
No, I like it.
Or if I'm feeling like I really want to write a novel,
If I
sometimes happens.
if I wanted, like, a drama novel
Yeah.
experience.
If I want to write my vampire version of This Is How You Lose a Time War, then I will play a two-player full on, but with one me.
Two-player, one me.
Two-player, one me. Yeah,
I
that's
love
not a
that.
meme.
Okay, but that's like I really love that two-player, one me, 'cause,
Mm,
like, I've thought of, like, playing, um, like, interpret it or not, playing, like, normal TTRPGs as a what as a solo game, and, like, I
mhm.
can just think of, like sometimes, most games you have like a party of
Yeah.
player characters and stuff, and it's like a party but it's all me.
Mhm.
Like
I
I am
think
the only one here.
the only thing you really need is a way to complicate your
Mhm.
expectations a bit, otherwise
Yeah.
you might just write the story, right?
Yeah.
So you just need something that gives you the GM's "yes and," "yes but," "no
Mhm.
but" kind
Which
of
is why
responses.
there's GM emulators out there, or
Yes.
random encounters, or just mechanics that lead
Yeah.
into naturally
Yeah.
providing those prompts, which the one game that I'm looking at doing this with absolutely does. So I'm very
Mhm.
excited about that. No, but no, that's so cool. I love also hearing people's experiences with playing like solo and two-person games too, because everyone's very familiar with the one GM in a group,
Yeah.
and so hearing these other ways to play, I think is just really really cool.
Mhm. And just cooperative games as well, where you
Mhm.
don't have the GM, but you have more people.
Mhm.
I think that's also really fun.
I agree. Yeah, no, I've really wanted to play Wander Home for that reason,
Mm.
especially like, yeah, let's just see how this works. I'm the forever GM. I always have to run the games, which I love, but I just want to see what it'll be like if I give everyone free reign to
Yeah,
basically be the GM, like quote
and
unquote
it
the GM.
works.
It's
Once people
great.
get used to it as
Oh
well.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's why you do slightly guided play and then like push them, like slowly push them into into a fully collaborative game. Excuse me, but yeah, actually somehow got off topic again.
Oh, well.
Starting the game.
Starting the game.
Starting the game. What does
Someone
that
writes
look
a
like?
letter.
Woo!
If you've gone through all the world building, the character creation, and you still don't have a good idea for how you write a letter,
Mhm.
there is a chronicle phase that you can add on at the beginning of the game, which
Mhm.
gets you a little bit more into your character and what your motivations might be.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. But then someone writes a letter, and
Mhm.
while one person's writing a letter, the other person has their first interaction with the society.
Ooh.
So
Oh, so it still gives people
you're doing
things to do.
different things at the same time. So if it can take a while to write a good letter,
Mhm.
especially given how out of practice people tend to be with writing letters.
Yeah.
I know I go, "Dear, uh" right?
Where do I go from there?
"Where do I go from here? What do I want to write about? How do I want to present my character?"
Mhm.
That stuff can take a bit of time. So
Absolutely.
someone else is going through the society phase, and there's
Mhm.
nothing that stops you from necessarily just doing your own thing and sending letters out of
Mhm.
phase with each other and stuff like that, except
Yeah.
that it's not really fair to have a pile up of letters happening on one person.
Yeah.
So
There
the
should be a little back
recommendation
and forth.
is the recommendation is that you complete a cycle of the game at a similar pace, but how you
Mhm.
complete those individual phases, the pace you
Yeah.
do that in is kind of up to you.
Yeah, I like that.
Just yeah, don't send another letter before you've received a letter to read. Is the
Yeah.
basic rule of it.
Yeah, I think that even in just the realm of actually sending letters, I think that's pretty
I mean, yeah.
courteous.
No one wants to be that annoying person where they're like sending you four letters. Oh no, that's my they never reply referring, doesn't it? Someone sending you four letters and the other person just like, guy, I haven't even like picked it up yet from the postbox.
It's like, "Oh, no.
Sorry,
Oh,
that's
my."
that's that's for another game.
No, you are all good. No, I love
Yeah.
it. See, this is brainstorming, like, oh,
It's just
ideas.
brainstorming. Good ideas come when you're having a good conversation with someone.
Exactly. A good
Yeah,
conversation where they want to hear about your ideas.
yeah,
That's always the best time because then it's like,
mm,
all right, we can go back and forth. Hell yeah.
yeah,
No, I love it. And so the writing the letter phase, you're going back and forth.
mhm,
Writing each other's writing each other letters, and
yeah,
so I'm curious from your perspective,
mhm.
if you have any like tips for people who may not have played a journaling game before where they're having to write things out. Do you have any tips for like kind of easing people into it so that it seems more approachable?
Don't be afraid. Just write. It will be okay.
I
No,
love it.
like, to be totally serious with it, you can write anything you want in the journaling sections of these games. You
Mhm.
don't have to share it with anybody.
Yeah. I love it.
No one needs to see it other than you.
Mhm.
If you want to go through the prompts and just write one-word answers to things, and that's all you feel like you can do at the
Mhm.
moment, just do that.
Yeah. Play it
No
how you
one ever
can.
needs to know. You'll write a you'll get a letter back from the other person.
Mhm.
You'll take what you've written down so far, 1 words, 3 pages, whatever it happens to be,
Mhm.
and then reply to them.
Yeah.
Ask them questions,
Engage in a conversation.
engage in a conversation, do the common deflection tactic of, "I don't know what to say, so I'm gonna ask you a question instead. How do you feel about what you've written in
Yeah.
this letter?"
Or are you doing okay? Like,
Yeah,
like we're not gonna talk about you asking like why maybe the paper's bloodstained. It's fine. We're not
yeah.
gonna worry about it.
Nothing to worry about
Mhm.
here. Maybe I've only written 3 words in my journal because a vampire hunter has taken over
Okay, but
this
like
chain of
that's kind of
letters.
really good.
Yeah,
That's actually that would be like a little terrifying, like as a little arc to do, like that an actual
mhm.
vampire hunter takes over the letters and maybe it like
I
tries to keep the
I do have a
conversation going.
section on character death
Mhm.
because okay, so stepping back a little bit. So Dead Letter Society doesn't use stats, but it uses
Mhm.
things.
Mhm.
Right, so
Things.
vampires are all like the things that they've acquired over centuries,
Yeah.
right? So it's the physical items that they own, the
Mhm.
connections and people they know, the places they haunt, the, people they betrayed in the past, and the principles they sacrificed along the way, and
Their
the ambitions
history.
that they have, which gives, like, 6 things that are assets,
Yeah, I love
right?
that actually.
Things that you have that make you you.
Mhm.
And during the game, you will develop them, you will tag things onto the descriptions
Mhm.
of them. So if you find a key, you might decide later on you're developing an item. You might decide, actually, you know what, I found out what this key unlocks, and you might tag something on that item. You might
Yeah.
also lose your items or forfeit your allies and rivals and all those
Ooh.
things. And if you run out of assets, you're a destitute vampire. And
Oh.
either you can bargain with society to just keep going for a little bit more,
Mhm.
which is up to the other player, or you change character. So there's a section on
Ooh.
character death,
Mhm.
right? So
I love
also
it.
in my solo playthrough, if I wanted to play through more, I might just go to the character death section and pick a new way of playing that vampire,
Yeah.
continuing the story. One of the things in there is just make a new vampire. The society connects you up. Everything's fine. Just carry on. Another one is, yes, another vampire has found their way somehow to contact you. Are they a member of the society? They probably
Ooh.
should be. If they're not, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, did you run because a human found your letters? Are they trying to infiltrate the society?
That's
What
so
are the
good.
consequences of this?
Yes. Oh, no, that's so good.
Yeah. Because along with werewolves, I was coming up with all sorts of schemes for how I could make this into some sort of, oh, but you could have a vampire and a vampire hunter, and then they could write to each other, and they could
Mhm.
fall in love, and then they could meet. And
Okay,
I'm
but,
like,
like,
nope.
I wanna play that so bad now, though.
I know you can play that with Dead Letter Society, but it's not
Mhm.
the only thing you can play with this
Oh, yeah, no.
game.
No, for sure, it is vampire pen pals, but, like, the idea of, like, specifically especially if you do that whole if there is a situation that comes up where one of the vampires die or something bad happens to
Or it's
them.
just narratively
Yep.
they should disappear.
Yep,
Yeah.
and then you have the vampire hunter come in, and then, like, maybe
Mhm.
you don't even know. Maybe
Yep.
you might get hints of, like, oh, how the letter is written, and that's
Yep.
where you can have, like, creative
You
fun
might
in
give
those
some
elements.
hints. You
Mhm.
might write with your left hand. I don't know if you're writing physical letters.
Actually, I love the idea, and I'm sure, like, the whole intended thing with this is that because I saw this I think in your itch page of that you don't have to wait forever for the pen
Yeah.
pals, like, normally if you're sending a letter it takes a few days or however long for it to go through and all of that, but it
Mhm.
would actually be really cool to do physical like pen pal letters, like
Mhm.
sending it to someone who's like across the country or across the
Yep.
world. Like that would be a lot of fun, and again, a lot of creative control that you could have there with like you could get nice envelopes and
Yep.
do
You can
wax seals.
include some pressed flowers from your
Mhm.
midnight garden.
Yes. No, I love that. You do the tea one, you include a bag of tea in there, like, "Alright,
Yeah.
yeah, drink this." No, but that's even fun, like, hey, like, maybe, like, sending tea back and forth because, like, that's
Mhm.
kind of
You can
a
trade
combining.
assets in this game, so if
Mhm.
you find something you wanna give to someone, or you can
That's
hook
so
someone up with
cool.
an ally that you know,
Yeah.
and you take them off your sheet, you put them on theirs, and then they're theirs to do with as they please.
I
So,
love that so
mm,
much. That's really, really cool, and so I love this. This is really fun. I really wanna play this. The so the writing phase, it does
mm,
include so it's the, starting, I guess the beginning of the game is the writing phase. You
mhm.
start with writing a letter, and then it's just
You
the
write a
letters
letter.
back and forth, and so then the next phase is what we're like,
It's society phase.
you send your letter, and it is time for the society. Yeah.
Yeah, the society will come a-calling. There will be people who have gone missing, who you would talk to, who would
Mhm.
introduce you, hints that maybe someone might be reading your letters, maybe.
Mm.
All sorts of things can happen then, and it's there to essentially help you flesh out what the society is.
Mhm. 'Cause there's so many things that it could be.
There's many things it could be. In one game that I played with my partner, we were playing vampire rail barons in the Wild West.
That's so good.
And it turns out the society was run by werewolves to trap vampires and get in
Ooh.
secret inside information into the railroad, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was something that we came up with between us because of the society events that we
Mhm.
got and the setting that we were playing in. And there was just a moment we were both sitting there typing, we're like, "You know what?" We're like, "I know what."
Yeah, use, like,
Yeah, we
brainwave,
just
like, yeah.
suddenly, yes, this makes a lot of sense. That's definitely what the society is in this game.
That's so cool. I love that so
Mm.
much. Also, like, that's just a really good idea too, like, vampires, Wild West, like, where like, secret werewolf society that's try
Yeah.
like, nefarious intent, all of
Mhm.
that, like, do you have any other examples of some of the other societies that you've done? Because now I'm just, like, really, really curious of, like, what's evolved.
Oh, a lot of them, I never really find out their true intent because
Mhm.
something bad happens to me before I get to that point.
Fair, fair, fair.
I tend to play shorter games when I'm doing my solo games because I don't have a lot of time that I'm trying to fit them in.
Yep.
So, when you're setting up this game, you'll say how many letters approximately you want to send to each other,
Mhm.
because that gives you, like, a narrative arc and timing for
Yeah,
things.
I like
And
it.
I tend to pick a short, like, three-letter game, so I have
Mhm,
something that introduces things, something that lets me know how it's going, and something
mhm.
that's usually my last gasp into the world.
Usually.
Usually, or it's like a "See ya!"
I'm
or something like
going.
that. Depending on how things have gone, then yeah.
Mhm,
And so in that time frame, I don't often but I'm not too bothered about finding out the intricacies of what the society are. It's
mhm.
usually what am I dealing with in that moment that's there. So, I think in my vampire who was the radio operator, my best working theory there was that the society was probably something to do with aliens.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Actually, I like it, I like it.
yeah.
Absolutely.
There was definitely something shady, it was
Mhm.
something radio tower related.
Yeah.
There was so I had lots of clues that were
Mhm.
sort of piecing together, but I didn't continue my game long enough to flesh it into a solid thing,
Mhm.
like with the Real Baron ones where we were like, "Okay, this is definitely how this society is working."
Yeah, for sure. No, that's okay, but
I kept it more open and fluid and yeah.
More fun, yeah. No, I
Yeah.
I love, though, the fact that it's, like, my working theory for a solo game where I was the only person playing, and the fact that you have a theory for that,
It's a
like
theory.
no, I love it because that's one of my favorite things about playing TTRPGs is, as a player, especially,
Mm.
figuring out, the plot, what is going on in the
Mhm.
grand scheme of things, and actually in my Monster of the Week game, our last session that happened a few days ago, there was some big there's some big revelations on some stuff, and I woke up the next morning to like a 3-page essay from one of my players in our conspiracy theory chat of like, okay, here's what I
Yeah.
think is going on. And it's like,
Yeah, I
oh,
am
that's
I am the
amazing.
theorist in our game group as well, I think. I have so many theories about what's going on in our Vampire the Masquerade game.
Ooh, I mean, more vampires. It's great. I love
More
it.
vampires. This game's almost 4 years old. It's like,
Ooh,
wow.
long game. Yeah. I mean, do
Long
you play
game, but
like
we
every
play
week?
slow, so
Oh yeah.
we talk a lot.
Gosh, I feel that. Like every
No, we
time
enjoy it though.
yeah, every time I go with my gaming group, it's like we have a discussion and it's like, okay, we actually have to start now because
Mhm.
I love talking with you guys. It's great. But also I need you to figure out what's going on in this game because I want to talk about it with you. Like I want to bounce ideas off.
Yeah, I think my partner's given up on that now. He's our storyteller for
Mhm.
for Vampire, and I think he has just given up on us, getting to the point where we're gonna figure it out, and he's just having fun now.
Yeah. I mean, that works. No,
Oh, we figured it out ages ago, and he's just
oh.
waiting for us to stop talking about it.
Oh, and actually
That
do
could also
something
be
about
true.
it.
Yeah. I have a lot of
It's
fun in
all a
that game.
guys. It's all a guys, like you don't know what's happening behind the curtain. Maybe you
Mhm.
like and that's the thing with having players that do like conspiracy theories because again, that whole like essay that I woke up to, there are points where I'm like, actually, you're
Yeah.
really close. Like you're like there like you've got some accurate points there and other ones where it's like I don't even know where you got that idea from, but like
Sometimes
that's interesting.
sometimes it makes sense, and sometimes it reveals a disconnect in what they are imagining and what you're
Yeah.
trying to get across, which is handy.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
is really good from a storytelling perspective, and there's even
Mhm.
times where I've actually taken a theory that my players have, presented, and I'm like, "Oh, that's actually true now." I
Yeah.
don't tell
We've
them.
always done that.
Yeah, I don't tell them, I don't let them know, but yeah, actually, that's true now because that's a really good idea. That was
Mhm.
something that I didn't intend, but it makes sense, I can make it work, and, like, it's fun, and then they're gonna feel really excited when
You'll
it
feel
actually
really
gets
good when it pays off.
yeah, and then it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I figured that out in session 5." Like,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
It's what I'm hoping happens at the end of our vampire game if we ever get there. I kind of hope we don't ever get there because I really like our characters. I don't wanna stop playing, it's too good.
I don't want it to end. No, I
Yeah.
love that though, especially when you have just a game where you can just kind of be the people too.
Mm.
Like I enjoy games that do have a strong narrative, like overarching story. Like those are
Yeah.
really fun. But also games that are a bit more personal, where it is just the characters kind of playing out their lives is
Yeah.
fun because then you just get like super connected with those characters, and it's like I love
Mhm.
you, and one day I will have to let you go,
One day I will have to let my vampire go,
and it will
but
be
she's
okay.
doing
Hopefully.
so well for such a new vampire.
Oh. I love hey, maybe one day it can become a Dead Letter Society game. Who knows?
Maybe. I mean, you say that, one of the sample characters in the modern day setting for Dead Letter Society is written from my Vampire the
Oh,
Masquerade
that's so
game.
cool. Well, now you have to share. Who is this?
Oh, what did I call her in this one? That's a good question. Let me scroll through this book. Which one was her? What was her name? What did I give her? I think it was Madison. What did I call her? Yeah, Madison Aspen.
Madison Aspen.
Like,
What a good
yeah, she's
name.
Paris Kensington is the pseudonym she picked for Vampire
Mhm.
to a city into place. So Madison and Aspen are both places. So,
I love it. It's great.
but yeah, that's basically that character. And a letter from her to the wider vampire society.
I love it. No, that's
Mm,
so cool, and I love that you have a like, obviously you like vampires enough that, like, you're playing a Vampire the Masquerade game. You
mm.
wrote a vampire game that is, all about, the vampire pen pals.
Vampire
Um,
pen pals.
I really want to make that the title of this episode.
It can be. I mean, it's the exact words that popped into my head was vampire pen pals
Yeah, vampire like, a bunch of, like,
with
ex
that
like
intonation and
like
everything.
no, I love it, but, like, I love that, like, the love for vampires is strong, and then you, like, bring in those other experiences into this
Yeah.
game, so there's that, again, deeper connection that people can, like, find out, like, again, the coolest thing about, like, indie game designers is that, again, they put a lot of their own things into the game, and it's just really cool. I love it.
I also carry it on to the next game a bit because next game is werewolves,
Mhm,
and in the preview, at least, I've got one setting in the preview for Almanac, and I'm already taking I'm already GMing it a little bit too much and taking some of the NPC the pre-gen characters for the vampires in Dead Letter Society
mhm.
and putting them as influences in the werewolves' lives in their lives. So I was like, okay, how complicated can I make this?
Yeah.
Hopefully not hopefully just complicated enough and not too complicated.
Yeah, I mean, for people who get it, people who do
Yeah.
both games,
I
like
want it to be an Easter egg, not
yeah.
like a whole thing, but
No, I think that's really cool though, because then there is that overlap when people do
yeah.
play your other games. They're like, I can tell, I can see that's from Vampire or not Vampire the Masquerade. What? I can see that's from Dead Letter Society. I know what I'm talking about. There's vampires everywhere. It's
There's
fine.
vampires everywhere. Yeah. But also you can play those 2 games together, so it gives you a little bit of a link between the 2 things is more
Yeah.
what I'm thinking.
You could have werewolves going on one day, you can have vampires going on the next day and
Yeah.
just like switch it up. Just make sure that you don't get them confused. Like, because I feel like
Yeah.
that would be very
One of the 2 probably can't go out during the day,
probably, but
probably. Unless you're Dracula. Dracula could go out during the day.
yeah, Dead Letter Society game where you're playing Dracula, someone else is playing.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I've broken you now.
No, you're all good. No, I just have way too much fun doing these. Um, no, that's great. And so a little bit, swerving back slightly.
Mm,
So for the society phase, you're figuring out who the society is and like kind of what their motivations are as you're drawing these prompts. And is
yep.
it is it drawing from just the major arcana or are you
Yeah.
drawing
So
from okay.
the society phase is just the major arcana. The
Mhm.
chronicle phase is just the minor arcana.
Okay, that makes sense to kind of separate the cards, make it
Yeah.
a bit easier. And so, do you have maybe an example, like kind of preview prompt of one of the society cards?
Oh, sure. Of course I do.
Yeah, let's
Let me
let's.
scroll back just a little bit more in my document.
All good.
I will share. Ooh, what's my favorite?
See, that's
I
always a
mean,
great question.
I've kind of told you a little bit about some of the ones that are there, but I think one of my favorites for actually starting to think more solidly what the society wants from you
Mhm.
is what I wrote for the Fool.
Mhm. Ooh, that's good.
Um, if you draw the Fool, you get to add information to an item, a principle that you hold,
Mhm.
and declare an ambition that you want to pursue as part
Ooh,
of this.
yeah.
And the prompt reads, a letter arrives for you bearing the society seal, but with no mention of the sender. Within is a small square of vermilion paper and a carefully wrapped trinket. The paper bears the words, our dance begins, in a large, sprawling script. The trinket is something you thought lost, something of significant sentimental value. What thoughts run through your
Ooh,
mind?
that's really good. That's so spooky. Like,
And yeah, and it could be from somebody who's trying to just get in touch with you through the society, but
mhm.
without the society knowing.
Yeah.
It could be someone higher up in the society has a job for you to do at
Mhm.
some point. It could be some cat and mouse thing that's going on.
Yeah. It
And I
could be
think it
like
fits.
a long lost friend that maybe sent you
It could
this and
be.
they're
It
in
could
the
be nothing
society.
sinister at all, but it's probably sinister.
It's I mean, yeah, 9 times out of
Yeah.
10, probably. I
Yeah.
mean, like, if you're not playing the Society Sinister, then what's the point of the Society? That's the true question.
They're just a glorified post office in that point, and
Actually,
all
that's
the
really funny.
malevolence is just ineptitude.
They're a glorified post office.
Yeah.
That's really good. I like that a
Mm.
lot. And again, it like some of my favorite things about some of these solo games that I've tried are just like the openness of the prompts. Like
Yeah.
that is so open. It doesn't matter what setting you're in. It doesn't matter what the
No.
society is. It doesn't matter who you are. And like even the trinket, it's just a trinket. It doesn't say, "Oh, this is a
No.
key." It's like,
No.
"Okay, well like why would I get a key if maybe I'm on a spacecraft that only uses
Yeah.
cards to like
It
open the
has to make
doors?"
sense for multiple settings.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
my hope is that I give enough guidance that your brain goes, "Aha!"
Mhm.
but not be so penned in that there's only one answer to the question.
Yeah, again, I mean, we just came up
Mm.
with several as we were
Yeah.
just talking
And
about it.
if you're playing this properly, you'll have a world that you're playing it with, you have a character and the kind of
Mhm.
things that they might like or be paranoid
Yeah.
about, and
You can have a bit
yeah,
more of an idea of, like, exactly what it could be.
exactly what kind of thing might happen. You might have an ally that you've been, talking
Mhm.
to up to this point, and maybe you decide that the handwriting is theirs and there's something
Yeah.
fishy going on. I don't know, it's not my game.
There's so many different
So many different things.
so many different ideas, so many different ways to play. Just make it your own, have a blast with
Yeah,
it. No, I
make it
love
your own,
this.
which is the other like, you were talking about advice to people who haven't played these kind
Mhm.
of games before, is just follow your instinct. You can't
Yeah.
play these games wrong.
I love that. I love that. You can't play it
You
wrong.
can't play them wrong.
No one's asking you to write a novel. No one's asking
Nope,
you to have to write in the first person perspective or a third person
nope.
perspective.
No one
Like,
cares about the grammar you're
yeah,
using, there's no exam at the end.
no one's spell checking you along the
Nope.
way.
You can turn off the spell checker when you're playing a journaling game.
I choose to have my spelling errors. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what I love. I mean, for me personally, in the solo games that I've done, I do it pen and paper. Like that's
mhm,
personally one of my favorite ways to play TTRPGs in general. Even if I'm playing online, I'll usually print out stuff
yeah,
or have physical items. And that's also why I like having physical books for things too, because it's like, oh,
mhm,
I get to actually hold it. But a big reason why I do solo games as a journal instead of like in a doc is because it's like writing already kind of stresses me out to an extent. Like
mhm.
it's something I've gotten a lot better at and that I've gotten more comfortable with and that I enjoy more, and that's why I've been playing solo games. But if I'm having to worry about like spell check or things like popping up every so often because I
Yeah.
spelled it wrong, it's like I don't want to deal with that right now. I
No.
already have to deal with that enough as I'm typing things on Twitter, and then it's like, oh, you
Yeah.
spelled this wrong. It's like I didn't ask you.
And there were those moments when autocorrect has corrected the word you actually typed and intended to type
Yep.
correctly 3 times as
Yep.
something totally different.
Yep. It's like,
Yeah.
that's not what I wanted. Why
No.
leave it alone, please.
Yeah.
I know I type strange words because I'm into strange TTRPGs or fantasy or even just it's so silly. It's the most stressful thing, but that's why I love doing it as I love doing it as pen and paper just because it
Mm.
does help kind of let that go. Be like, I
Yep.
don't have to worry that I'm spelling anything right. And it is my own journal. I'm not giving this to someone like, oh, hey, read this game that I played through.
People would struggle to read my handwriting.
And that's it too. You can read it. Like
Yeah.
it's your
It's
thing.
fine, I can guess.
Yeah. No, I get that with words sometimes. Like I look back at some of like notes I've left for myself or things that I've written, and I'm like,
Mhm.
what is that? Like, what is that word? I have no
There's a
idea
little
what this
upwards thing
is.
here, there's probably an I or a T, and there's a
Yeah.
downward thing there. It's just yeah. When you're writing fast, or at least when I'm
Mhm.
writing fast, the distinction between my letters disappears into some squiggles with some uppy downy bits along the lines.
I
And
love that.
occasionally some dots, but sometimes I will dot or cross things to be like, "Hang on, no, I was just getting excited about writing that word. There's no I's or T's or anything in there. What am I doing?"
Just wanted to enunciate it a little bit, like add more dots.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Underscore it or like go underline
Yeah.
it. Sorry, not underscore. No, I love that so much. I've been always very like I've been pretty, like, neat in the way that I write, so it does take me a while to write, but I am atrocious at spelling anything. I'm atrocious of trying to figure out how to spell anything. And again,
Mhm.
I'm playing this game for fun. I'm not worrying
It
about it.
doesn't
I'm
matter.
not going to spell I'm not looking it up on Google or
No.
spell checking it. So it's fine. It works. So don't be worried about it, people. If you're
Yeah.
if you're nervous about the way that you write or not being good at grammar or like putting together sentences that read well, that's not the point. The point is to tell a story with yourself
And
and
have
another
fun.
person. Yeah, have
Yep.
fun.
If
And
you're
if
having
having
fun, you're playing the journaling game correctly.
exactly.
If you're not having fun, you should put it down and do something else.
Yeah, and that maybe a journaling game isn't your way of having fun. That's
In
why
that
I think
moment in time, yeah,
yeah.
maybe not. Maybe you wanna do something else.
Exactly. Sometimes you just wanna sit around with your friends to play a game and have fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't wanna have it all be on you and figure out, like, "What does
Mhm.
this weird prompt mean?" Like,
Mhm.
I love it, and so that's really cool, and I guess we gone over the prompt bits of the society
Yeah.
phase and all of that. Is there any other elements that we didn't cover necessarily with the society phase?
Oh, no, the society phase is fairly straightforward, I
Mhm.
think. It's just taking everything that's happened to you so far and figuring out what does the society want this time?
Yeah. What do
Yeah.
you want? It's
What
like
do you want with me? Can't you just send my letters and be a glorified post office?
yeah, please. And hey, maybe maybe a way that someone makes the game their own is by making a glorified post
I mean,
office.
yeah.
I love it. So good. I love it. And so the next phase is oh no, I forgot the
The chronicle
chronicle
phase,
phase. Yes. Chronicle
which is
phase.
where you act upon the world essentially and pursue the things that your vampire is interested in.
Yeah, which is where you can get ideas of like what you end up writing about, I would
Yeah.
assume.
So that does work in a very tarot-ish sense in
Mhm.
that you have a question that you want to ask or a problem that you're trying to solve,
Okay.
and you phrase it as a how, a what, a where, or a why type question because
Mhm.
they invite more verbose answers,
Mhm.
and you
Versus
try to
yes or
censor
no.
it censor it? No, center it on how you act in
Mhm.
the game. So some of the examples I give in of how to phrase an intention is if there's a character called Jules the Rat in your game,
Mhm.
right? You don't say your intention of what does Jules the Rat think of me? Because you don't know that.
Yeah.
The question you might ask is how can I influence Jules the Rat?
Mhm.
And then draw the card and maybe you get some ideas from that about how you might go about influencing Jules the Rat.
Oh, that's fun actually. And you mentioned a little bit before as like the tarot cards can even be like, kind of more fortune telly, like you can even
Mm,
reference what it means just from the pictures that are on it,
yeah,
which is fun too because I know that different tarot decks have their own artwork. Even though they have
yeah,
like, their themes and what the cards mean and all of that. They have different artwork and what
yeah.
they put on
Which
it.
makes you think different things.
Yeah, which I could imagine if you play this as a two-person game, maybe one person has a tarot like, one tarot deck and someone else has a different one,
Yeah,
so maybe you can get some different interpretations on
yeah,
things. You could even play with, like you could play even if you're playing solo, you could play with multiple tarot decks if you
yeah,
wanted to,
if
like,
you want
switch it
to.
up. Like,
Yep.
that's really fun. I like that a lot. That's
I like
cool.
tarot cards more than dice because of that. You can get the same, like, statistical distribution
Mhm.
with that, but you also have built-in inspiration
Yeah.
that's more than just the number.
Yeah, and you could even look into, like, what the card means, and, like, you could learn
Mhm.
about tarot even further, like, that's really
Yep.
fun. No, there's a
So,
lot of
on each of the cards prompts that I have 3-word, like, basic idea of what
mhm.
the card is about as
Oh,
well.
I like that, yeah.
So, you can just sort of go with the gist of
Mhm.
the vibe of the card if all else fails.
If all else fails.
So, for the Fool, which I read to you earlier, I wrote that down as naivety,
Mhm.
adventure, and the unknown.
Yeah, I love
So, it's just
that.
another way of approaching how you interpret the card. It's just Yeah, now I'm rambling.
Yeah, no, you're good. No, and it helps support as well. It kinda helps
Mm,
support the people playing, like, the fact that you don't need to know the cards,
yeah.
already. Is there any way for people who may not have tarot cards, is there a way to play
Yes.
without them?
Yes.
Perfect.
If you like to play pen and paper, I
Mhm,
have a random table at the back of the book, and you can either concoct your own way of rolling some
mhm.
numbers, or you can drop a pen on it or whatever to
Ooh,
pick a thing,
yeah.
or you can ask Google to roll you a D56. Or there's an awkward number of tarot cards, you see. And one thing I thought of doing is like roll a d4 to pick a suit, and then
Mhm,
roll a d whatever to pick
yeah.
a card within the suit. But then that's a lot of rolling.
Yeah, that's a lot of rolling, I'm trying to
And
even think of a way that, I would do it, but that's, tricky.
yeah, so the easiest thing to do is just to go and get a dice roller on your phone or something like
Yeah.
that, and then just have it roll the odd dice. I have a link in there to an online free dice roller
Perfect.
so that people can easily do that. And
Yeah,
if you tell Google to roll you 1d56, it will roll your 56 sided dice. That's like pretty easy.
yeah, they can make up
Um,
dice that don't exist.
yeah. Alternatively, there is a Discord bot,
Mhm.
and that has all the prompts on it. I'm
Oh,
very
I love
trusting like that.
it. So, wait, so you actually, made a Discord bot for the
Yeah.
game?
So my
That's so
partner's a software
cool.
engineer,
Oh my
and he
god.
made me a Discord bot.
That's so sweet, I love
He's the
that.
best. Honestly, he's the best.
Do you have a link for that as well in the game?
Yes.
Perfect.
So there's a link to it. There's a resources section in the game which has a link to
Mhm,
a web page that has a QR code. There's a link as a text document included with the PDF
mhm.
downloads, and deadlettersociety.com, which is where all the information about the game is kept,
Yeah,
has a section there on resources, including a link for how to get hold of the Discord bots and
I love
everything
that.
like that.
That's so good. I haven't, heard any, games make actual bots for them or anything like that, so that's just really
Yeah.
cool.
So I totally stole this idea from Alice is Missing,
Oh,
because
they have a
they have a
Discord?
Discord server template for playing the game.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
And
Actually, I need to write that down because 'cause I've been really wanting
yeah.
to play Alice is Missing.
Oh, it's really good. It's really good. So they have a Discord server template.
Mhm,
So I started out by going, right, let's make a server template for this
mhm.
game. So you'll have your letter channels, your
Yeah.
journaling channels, and all that. And like,
Yeah.
actually, you know what? People can make this however they want to
Mhm.
make it. I don't need to dictate channels. We just need cards.
We just need random
We
generation
just
and
need
that's
cards.
it.
Because if I dictate like server structure, then people couldn't invite the bot onto like a server they already have
Oh,
to play on.
yeah. And then it's, all weird and you have to,
And
figure
yeah,
it
and
out
it's
and
just I have a habit of trying to make things too complicated and then going, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. I
See,
did it again."
being able to recognize it is important though, so
I have many years now of experience recognizing when that happens. Sometimes I still don't manage it.
No, I love it
But
though. I love it. That's so good. No, and again, recognizing it and knowing when enough is good. But I again really like that idea. And again, I'm gonna look into the Alice is Missing
Play Alice is
Discord.
Missing, it's cool.
Yeah, I have it on my shelf and I've been dying to play it, but all my groups are online and I have the roll 20
It
version, but I wanted to figure out how to do it in Discord that it would
mm.
be nice, work well and smooth.
Yeah, I got the digital version,
Mhm.
read it, and I thought, "Nope, I need to play this in person with
Yep.
people. I'm buying the physical one too."
Yep, yep, yep. No, it's a beautiful box. It's one of my favorite. I
Mm,
have it up with my quick starts and my bunkers and badasses thing. It looks all nice on the
yeah.
shelf. It's one day I will play you, because that again that's just also really interesting TTRPG because that was one of the first ones that that and 10 Candles were some of the first ones where it's oh there's some different than dice mechanics
Yeah.
and the standard again 1 DM and a group and all of that
Yes.
yeah sure
Dread
there's
was
oh yeah
Dread was my
Dread.
first, like, no dice sort
Mhm.
of game. I love Dread.
Dread's very cool.
I can only GM Dread, I cannot play Dread. I am very good at sneaking up behind someone and whispering horrible things in their ear as they're trying to pull a block from the tower. But 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 I'm not very good at Jenga.
I love that. There's we have been talking about Jenga in my house for like a few days now, maybe a week, because my mom went to this party where they had like a big Jenga tower thing,
Mhm.
and people were being really crazy about whipping out the pieces or like karate like hitting the pieces out and then like slamming it on top, and all I can think of is dread, and I'm like that would
Yeah,
be terrifying. That would
yeah.
be like the scariest thing, but also so freaking fun. And also, I really wanna play Dread now with a huge Jenga
Sorry.
tower. That would be
Yeah,
so
no, I do too.
fun. 'Cause then you have that extra element of, like, it's not just a little tower or anything, you have a whole big one in front
Oh,
of
yeah,
you
you have
that
to play with the
can.
big tower.
Yeah, yeah, and then it's like that, and then, like, again, I can imagine, like, run like, as a d like, I actually don't really know a lot about Dread, I've only, like, heard things off like, from other people, but I've heard that
Mm.
it's really good, and I know about the Jenga and the tower mechanics and all of that, and, like, I didn't know that it had a for sure GM, and, like, you just saying, like, running up behind someone, like, as they're like, I can
I've
imagine.
run Dread. I've run Dread at, like, a local convention once,
Mhm.
and I was really lucky that they let me have an entire room to myself for it. And
Oh
at one
my
point,
god.
I took my shoes off, and I turned out the lights, and I started walking around behind people talking,
Evil.
and I didn't do anything to them.
Yeah,
I didn't do anything, I'm
just
just
saying
walking around
things.
silently, and then suddenly I'm one side of the room, and they're all staring at the tower in the middle of the room, which has got a horrible lean to it. And they're all alone on the space station with the creature stalking them, and it's like, yeah,
Oh, no.
I have a lot of fun jamming Dread.
Well, now I gotta
A
play
lot of
Dread.
fun. Yeah. Though I haven't played it in way too long now.
Well, now you have to play it again because, like, we're talking about it now. Get a big Jenga tower, invite some people
Ah,
over, and
there's a
then
slight complication now. We've got a 4-year-old asleep upstairs, and if a
Oh,
big Jenga tower
no.
falls down, he's gonna wake up.
Okay, someone else has to host the Dread.
Yeah, someone else has to host. We have to figure out what to do about, yeah, many things.
Oh, this
Or
is
play it
so
in the
sad.
daytime.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a really bright horror scenario, okay? Like, I swear
Yeah,
it's scary. Like, yeah, no,
yeah.
things can be scary in the sunlight, like
Things can be scary in the
werewolves.
sunlight. It's all about the atmosphere you're trying to set,
Yeah,
and maybe
exactly.
don't play a game that's happening at night, but people still do scary, spooky things during the day.
Yeah, for sure. You just make sure to lean into that specifically and not
Yeah.
make it around the unknown and the
If
darkness and
if I
stuff.
am walking by myself in the middle of the woods in the middle of the day and I start hearing branches crack behind me, I'm still
No.
scared.
Actually, that's a good point. A dread game in the middle of the day set in the woods. Like,
Yeah.
there you go, right there.
It's still there's still that that unknown,
Mhm.
and people are afraid of the unknown.
Yeah, no,
We
it
make up all sorts of terrible things to explain anything.
this is so true, which is why again, like 10 candles works so good. Like anything
Mhm,
where like the unknown's the main mechanic, like
mhm.
it's automatically going to be spooky because
Yeah,
you don't know,
you
funny
don't know.
enough. No, I love it. And so actually I'm thinking if the chronicle stage,
Mm.
answering questions, is this usually something that's just like one thing where you're kind of asking the cards one thing, or are you doing multiple?
You get to do it 3 times.
Mhm. I think that's a good
So you
limit,
can
yeah.
yeah. I mean, you can do more than that as long
Mhm.
as, you've talked about with the other person, because you don't wanna you want I want what the players do is their own thing, but what
Mhm.
I want is it to be a fair amount of attention that each people gets to give to their characters.
Yeah,
So as
absolutely.
long as you're both doing the same number of what I call chronicle points, which
Mhm.
is things that you spend to ask these questions, then it's fine,
Yeah.
right? It's fine. You will cover more or less ground than you would in a what would be like the standard number of
Mhm.
points game, but it's fine as long as you're both doing the same thing.
It should be
Totally fine
good.
with me.
Yeah, no, I like that, and even being able to do less because sometimes there may be
Yeah,
situations where you
sometimes
don't
you
need all
don't have
3.
time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah, we come and sit down to play, like, if you're doing it, like, in person with the person in front of you, which I like that idea too.
Mhm.
Um, maybe we only have, like, 2 hours to do this right
Yeah,
now, and that's okay. We'll
and you can also play a bit, put it down, come back to it, split it over
Mhm.
a few nights.
Yeah.
It's also works fine like that.
One of the best things about solo games, or not solo games, but like solo or even two player, is like
Mm.
if you're on the same page of like, okay, we'll just pick this up when we have the time. Like I'm playing a
Mhm.
solo game right now. I haven't played it in a few days, even though I had like a week where I was like playing it like every day. But I've been busy. I only have so
Mhm.
many things I can do, and so being able to
Life
know,
happens.
yeah, being able to know I can pick it up and continue it again at any point makes me happy.
Mhm.
I love it. And so now I'm thinking, I mean, as soon as the chronicle phase is over, I'm assuming you just kind of it's like the play
You go
loop,
back to the letter phase.
go back to the
So during
letter.
the chronicle phase, you will pick up the letter that you've received, you'll
Mhm.
read it at some point, you may
Yep.
act on the information that's in it using by, doing the chronicle phase.
Mhm.
You
Oh,
can pursue
so
your
so
own
you can
things
get the letter like at the beginning of the chronicle
at the
phase.
beginning of it, or you can do that bit in any order.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you're sticking to 3 things that you're doing, then you can pursue 3 of your own things and then
Mhm.
read the letter if you want, or you can read the letter and then do the 3 things, or you can do 1 thing and think, "You know what? I should really read that letter."
Yeah. There
Or
may be something.
maybe the other player is still writing the
Mhm.
letter, so you just do your 3 things and the letter arrives when it arrives.
Yeah, and I could even see like you maybe have only like one idea for yourself on what you want to actually do
Yeah,
in that phase, and then maybe you want to wait for the letter to know if there's
yeah.
something else that like maybe some ideas that spring from that. I like
Mhm.
that a lot. This is so fun. This is great. Oh my gosh. I mean, I guess like my question here is like is there points any other points about Dead Letter Society that we haven't covered because I think we're getting
Ooh,
close to the end here. I mean, it's a pretty
yeah.
straightforward game which
It's
I adore.
it is honestly pretty simple. Especially compared to the other thing that I wrote early on. It's very simple.
Mhm.
It's 3 things, 3 phases. You write letters,
Mhm.
you see what the society wants, and then you do what you want.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. Um, if you've agreed on a number of letters that you're sending, at some point you will have sent those letters to each other.
Mhm.
You then do a chronicle phase as like an epilogue to wrap things up
Oh
for your
yeah.
characters.
I like it.
'Cause someone will write that last letter,
Mhm.
and the other player might not have actually tied up all of the sense they wanted, so it just gives you
Mhm.
both that opportunity to say goodbye to the characters.
Aw. Yeah. I love it.
If you don't want to say goodbye to the characters, then you can just keep going. I mean, I'm not your boss.
Yeah. Write as many letters as you want.
Write as
Go
many
for
letters
as
as you want. It's only your own words that you've gotta use, but
Yeah.
if one person wants to stop and one person wants to continue, then you can instead just switch to playing a solo game.
Yeah, then maybe they don't respond and you could agree
Indeed.
upon a thing of, like, why they're not responding and, like, why
Indeed.
it would no, I like that. That's so fun. Oh my god, I love all these opportunities. I really I literally wrote down, like, to play this with my partner because, like, this sounds, again, really fun to do, and again, to go back and forth and just see, what happens when you are vampire pen pals?
What
Like,
happens?
yeah, what happens? That's the whole
Fun
idea behind the game.
happens.
Yeah.
Fun happens when you're vampire pen pals.
Exactly. Like, as we now know now.
Yeah.
No, I love this so much, and so I think, though, we are at the end here, and there is, one question that I always like to
Hmm.
ask people just because it's very fun for me, and that is with Dead Letter Society, I think specifically when you made it, what was the thing that made you the most excited about it? Why were you in love with this idea?
So, sharing an idea with someone is hard.
Very much.
And I have ideas, and I have a
Mhm,
very vivid picture in my head of that idea, but I don't always have the words to get it out.
mhm.
So the thing that made me go, "Okay, this is cool," is when I manage to actually get those words out and tell my partner what my plans were. And he
Aw,
went, "That sounds cool. You should write that."
that's so
And
sweet.
just that moment of just, okay, the idea has clicked
Mhm.
enough that I can explain it. It was more garbled than your vampires writing letters to each other via a secret society,
Yeah,
right? It
of
was much
course.
more garbled than that, but still the idea came across and
Mhm.
he got it, and it was something he would want to play with me. And
Aw.
that's all I cared about.
Mhm.
And in a sense it is still all I care about, because
Absolutely.
trying to make a game that specifically to please, like, strangers on the internet
Mhm.
is that's a fool's errand.
Oh, for
Don't do
sure.
that.
Yeah, no, make the game for yourself. That
Make a
I
game for yourself, and there's probably gonna be other people out there who will want to play it. So, yeah,
absolutely.
that was it for me. That was the, "Oh, I can kind of explain what I want to do here,
That's
and
so good.
he likes it. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah, let's do this. And now
Let's
you
do
have an
this."
awesome game. You have a fantastic game that makes me really
Thank you.
excited. And obviously, other people are really excited and playing it and enjoying it too, which is
Yeah.
amazing. And now you have Almac coming out and like all
Mhm.
of these things. And so that's
Did
just
you know you
amazing.
can get Dead Letters of Society in Italian now?
Ooh, for all the
That was a fun
Italian
experience.
vampires.
Italian vampires. So that was
Perfect.
pretty fun.
Did you, like, get it, like I mean, I assume translated, like, how actually, now I'm
Yeah.
curious. Hold on, everyone, we're not ending the episode yet.
Oh.
I'm curious about this. I just I'm really curious.
I got an email from Narrativa,
Mhm.
who do translations of games into Italian, and they translated it for me, and they took my art and made it different.
What does
It's
that
the
mean?
same game, it looks a little bit different. It's the
Uh-huh.
same art, it looks a little bit different.
Interesting,
It's
yeah.
cool.
Again, for the Italian vampires, I guess.
Yeah.
Gotta spice it up a little bit for that. No, that's actually really cool. I love
Yeah, no,
that.
it's it's a it's a different book to what I made,
Mhm.
but it's still a very pretty book.
Yeah, no, that's so cool.
Yeah, so it was really cool just to see someone else have a slightly different vision of what my game would be like and what would appeal to a
Mhm.
different market,
No, I
and
like
see
that.
what they made of it.
Mhm.
It's like, "Ah, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah. Good job.
Good job, guys."
And, like, again, from a game designer perspective, I couldn't imagine how, like, exciting that is, like, even, like, taking inspiration from a game or, like, translating it and then making it, like, their own version with it. Because obviously there's not always gonna be direct translations for stuff, and then, like,
Yeah,
whatever direction they wanna take it to.
and I have big long lists of keywords, so
Yeah.
I actually feel a little sorry for the translator.
Here's a bunch of words. Well, I guess
Here's a bunch of words.
I mean, I think it all comes down to if it's something where there are, like, more single words or if, like, words make sense in, like, context
Yeah.
and stuff like that, where, however language works. Um,
Mhm.
no, but that's so cool, like, congrats on that, like, that's really
Yeah.
awesome.
It was just cool.
Yeah. No, all
Yeah.
like, congrats on all of this, like, this
Thank
is all seriously
you.
really cool. I'm very excited to actually get Dead Letter Society. I'm getting a physical version because I refuse not to. Also, I've been seeing you work on
I do
the
have offer
special.
community copies, just so
Yes.
people know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's touch on that actually,
If if you want to play, but it's not something that you can stretch to right now, you can just send me an email or check on the itch page, and there are community copies. I'll always give something away rather than have someone, you know, get into difficulties over a
Absolutely.
game.
Yeah, which is so sweet of you.
Yeah.
Just thank you from the people who are in those positions because again, everyone wants to play games and that's a good way to just like, relax and have
Everyone
something
deserves
fun.
to be able to play
Exactly.
games. I think
Yes.
games are a good thing,
Mhm.
and it's not always where people's priorities are.
Yeah, and that's
Like, well,
fair.
yeah, totally
Sometimes
fair.
you need to live. You need
Yeah,
to actually survive. No, but
yeah,
absolutely. No, I think that's great, which thank you for like bringing that up because I wanted to make sure that we did touch on that and I
mm.
may have forgotten a little bit from when we said it earlier.
We've had a long and winding
Yeah.
conversation. It's been a lot of fun. So
No, it's been fantastic, and I think that, thank you so much for coming on, and everyone who listened, if Dead Letter Society sounds great to you, go check it out on itch. The link of the link to it will be in the description of this episode, along with the link to the website, which has the physical copy on it, or, actually, where is because I think I checked it out before
if
and
you just if you go to deadlettersociety.com,
Mhm.
that will redirect you to a webpage with links to itch, drive through, and my online shop, and a load of other places that have it in stock.
Perfect. Yeah, and I'll just make sure to put those links all in the
Mm,
description below just so that it makes it
yeah.
easy for you guys to actually get the game because you should go and play it because this is really cool and I'm really excited about it. And if you do play it, make sure to share your experiences with Rory here because she
Yes.
deserves to hear all the fun things about her game.
Tell me all about your vampires, like
Yes. And if they fall in love.
ambitions, betrayals, passions, deaths. Maybe not deaths.
Yeah, maybe that's a little too sad.
That might be a little bit too much.
No, but seriously, like, thank you so much, everyone. Please go check out Rory. If you would like, just at the end here, where can people find you? Those links, again, will also be in the description. But just for this one final part, where can people find you and support you?
I am Montford Tales everywhere in this social media diaspora, and montfordtales.com is my website,
Perfect.
and all of my links are on there.
Awesome. And
So
I guess your email as well, if you're open to
it's
people reaching
Rory at
out.
montfordtales.com.
Perfect. No, seriously though, thank you so much for coming on and talking about Dead Letter Society. This was awesome.
It's been
Maybe
great.
we will have to talk about Almac when it comes out because that would be
Mhm.
really awesome and fun little follow up too. Because I'd love to have you back on the show. So yeah, thank you so much. This has been awesome, super fun conversation, and thank you everyone so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed. And I guess that's it. Woo! Bye. Yeah, awkward movements. Like, ooh, it's the
Awkward
end.
movement. Bye, everyone.